they're trying to pass a law in New York right now that will prohibit 32-ounce big gulps. This is the government's answer to trying to help obesity in America. Now, if we're going to have to wait until the government legislates how we deal with our nourishment in the country, it's no longer the land of the free, it's the land of the stupid. So, let's do something different about it. So what can we do to help in there? The public has given up on this, and we've got not only people who are overcaloried, we've got people who are undernourished at the same time, and we've got folks that are getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And if we don't do something different at this stage, then, I would like to laugh at this thing. I was actually in a restaurant, and I had parents saying just exactly the same thing behind them. We had stopped to pick up some coffee, and basically they're saying, if you don't finish your whatever that I wouldn't have fed anybody, they didn't get their big gooey dessert. And so it's more than a little scary. This is me jumping up and down about kids as well. When we look at what being overweight does, with a group of physicians, we all know that it affects everything on the slate, and there's about 6 more that aren't even on this slide now that are being linked to it. And the biggest thing that, come on little guy, move here, that is so scary about it is that the regular public hasn't realized that this is all because of what we eat. It's all because of what we do or don't do. And it's totally controllable. They come into our offices and they've got a problem and they want a pill. Well, a pill isn't going to fix the thing that is killing us, and that's that we're putting things in our body that are taking our nation, and this is just a really fast way of looking at it. This is just the correlation between diabetes and obesity, but watch the colors as they change. As we go through, I don't have the 2009 data, but watch how fast America has changed. We now, in this slide, are now seeing states that over 30% actually are obese. That's the adult population. We're not even talking about the kids in here. This is just the adults. That's how fast it's moving. And in 2009, California joins that. This is the land of the slim, trim, and beautiful. They're the only state now that doesn't have at least 30% of its population in that is Montana. And I don't know if it's because they don't have enough people or the big sky has kept them running in there. But it's huge as far as the size of the problem. It's huge as far as what we're spending on our healthcare dollars every year. We could certainly do a lot better things with it than that. And that, in these numbers, we're not even looking at the amount of dollars that are spent at the doctor's center and the people that are getting growth hormone, heaven forbid, and growing their own cancers while they're trying to get skinnier, or spending it on some of the drugs that are available out there that are not being prescribed by physicians and counted in the insurance dollars in there. These numbers sort of speak for themselves. So what do? There you are, you're standing there, and in comes Mrs. Jones or Mr. Smith, and they kind of look like that coming up in the top corner in there. And I don't know how many of my patients have come in and said, it's always the same. And they're this big, right? It's always the same. I get told, what? Eat less, go to the gym. Here I am, and I'm trying to eat less, but I'm not sure what, and I can't control it. And go to the gym? I can't even get in the gym. You want me to put shorts on this body? I don't think so. What do you guys tell your patients? What do you tell your patients when they come in and you're looking at them and they're obviously overweight? They got an A1C that's 9. How many people know what an A1C is, just before I start putting in too much medical lingo? Okay, there are some folks that don't have to deal with that with the kind of medicine they're in. Their blood sugars are out of whack, their cholesterol is out of whack. I have a 13-year-old that just joined my practice, is over 300 pounds. He has had his first MI. Yes. Yeah, and that's what we're creating. And his parents are normal-sized individuals. It's not that he's following in, some kind of strange Pickwickian syndrome with, adrenal disasters in there. These are normal kids when they started genetically, and they're turning into, beings like this. So by the time I see them in my practice, They've gone through all of the docs in my group, and I work with 10 of them. And they've tried all of those diets, plus the grapefruit diet and the apple cider diet, and the high colonics and the low colonics. That's one way of losing weight, I guess. But some of us think those are preps for colonoscopies. I don't get it, but they pay big bucks for that. And what happens with all of those diets is kind of like, how much do you last? Well, if you walk into some of the weight loss centers, you lose a whole lot more than that. One of my colleagues' wives, who's actually a personal friend, admitted not too long ago that she'd gone to one of those weight loss clinics, and I said, how come they just didn't come and see me? And she said, well, I was embarrassed to. This is a doctor's wife who's an RN, but she, like everybody else, has this shame as far as control. And she paid $3,200 for the privilege of walking in and picking up her food at this place and getting B12 shots. Yeah, I'm in the wrong business. I could make my money there. But it didn't help her. And so what works? We've all, those of us who are not pre-med students, probably lived long enough to remember when everything that was fat was bad. So you throw out the entire fat out of there, and what happened then is they replaced all that fat with carbs, and people got fatter. And then we did the low-carb stuff, which was South Beach and Atkins, and replaced it with that. And lo and behold, people still had more cardiac problems. They didn't lose a whole lot of weight, but stayed put, and they didn't feel good. And any of the diets that are diets where you're just stopping eating a certain number of calories for a certain length of time, that is sorted out for reasons of getting into your skinny pants, looking good at your graduation, just trying to keep your doctor so she quits ragging at you. If you go on a weight loss program to lose weight, and it is considered just like getting to there, and then you get to go back to where you did, if you do the same thing over and over again, unless you're insane, you're going to get exactly the same results. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And there's lots of literature that says that, if people are on what they think is a diet, that they've got an endpoint, and once they get there, that they can go back and do the same thing over again, they're going to end up back in the same place. Drugs. I don't know if anybody uses meds in the room to help people control their appetite. Meridia is already off the market because of the side effects. Phentyramine, which is basically, prescription-controlled amphetamines. I have a little problem prescribing amphetamines for my patients because they want to decrease their appetite. And Xenical is an interesting experience, but not anything anyone can live on. It ends up with more people having interesting gas than anybody ever wanted. This slide was actually created, and the data in it is more geared to the more serious surgeries. This is before lap band, as far as the statistics that are in there. I've had the sad experience of running into 2 patients in my 30 years that actually died of complications of Roux-en-Y and bypasses. Lap bands, at least they can reverse them. They can pull those bubbles out and make them go away. But the problem with most of the surgical interventions is if you don't address how people are putting those calories in and why, this slows them down. You've only got this big of a stomach, and if you put in more than that, you're going to throw it back up. I guess that's conditioning. Pavlov had something to say about that. But it doesn't get around the problem of why they're eating in the first place. I've got, with the program that I run, I've got probably 7 or 8% of my patients are ones that have got lap band surgery done, or they've done gastric bypass, and they're back saying, okay, what do I do? I'm back to the same size. They'll find a way of getting those calories in. I had one woman who had 4 blenders so she could keep her little pouch happy because she hadn't addressed, and the docs that had provided her surgery hadn't addressed what are you going to do with the problem. And anybody who's had any type of intervention, whether it's lap band or whether they're dealing with, just make these all pop up here at once here, whether they're dealing with just the consequences of eating small amounts, they still don't have the kind of absorption that keeps them from having to have huge amounts of supplements. The lab testing that goes after it, I don't know how many of you are following them, but they end up having to track vitamin levels and all sorts of things. And then So they may be losing calories, but they're not gaining health. They may be losing weight, but they're just shifting a problem into something else. And for some folks, it's worked. I'm not saying it's not there, but it's certainly not something that I want my child or my mom or my husband or somebody to go and do. And I try to practice the way I would like my family to live. So what does work? Eat less does work. You really do need to have less calories going in your body than what you're using. But it doesn't have to stay that way for extended periods of time. You can get people to a place where if their energy in is just down just a little bit, they get their weight rolling, you can add exercise into this area that will help to maintain their utilization, and then they can cruise on into maintenance, provided you do something with the behavior in there. If you just do this part, it's a diet. And those will just go back around and around. It's the proverbial yo-yo that we've talked about for a long time with all of the folks that are there. What happens, oops, go back one more, when you get people that don't have weight problems? That was one of the things that we went and looked at. How do these folks that live in valleys where there enormous populations of them live into their 90s and hundreds and 120s, and what they found when they looked at these people who were on not necessarily starvation diets, but ones where they had lean bodies, what they found is they didn't get old, and that's why they didn't die. And they found that a lot of the biochemical markers were they're indicating that they were still basically in their 50s or 60s as far as the changes that were being present hormonally. Their mitochondria were still fat and happy. That's where your energy comes from. And their DNA, there's a movie coming out about people who are getting telomeres, the ends of their chromosomes, transplanted from younger people. It's sort of the old urban thing where they were stealing kidneys. Well, now they're stealing ends off chromosomes, and they're going to do chromosome transplants. But basically, these people grew their own. They didn't lose the end of their telomeres, and their chromosomes still work, so they didn't age. And the biggest part of that is simply that they weren't carrying a lot of the changes, that goes along with aging, and a big chunk of that is insulin and its effects on it, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. So what else can you do? Can you exercise people? If you can get that young man back on a bike and not have him fall off. You can, if you belong to a gym, jump on a machine that will let you measure the calories that you're burning when you're on a treadmill. Anybody been on any of those? Or a bike? They got the little counter up there, and you can bust your buns. I'm relatively athletic, and I can chase my tail on an elliptical machine for about 45 minutes before I fall over dead. And that's not running all that time. That's sort of alternating in there. And I have yet to get over 300 calories. It doesn't matter how much slope I put on it. It doesn't matter how hard I push it. I'm dragging my tail, and I can't get it over 300 calories. If I walk over and do a glass of juice on the way out, do you think I've had more than I burned? Mm-hmm. Yeah, And if it's a jumbo juice with all the goodies in it, that's like 2 rounds on that. So you cannot exercise yourself into weight loss, no matter what the gyms tell you. You can certainly use it to maintain muscle tone. You can use it to condition your heart. But on Biggest Loser, they exercise these people. That show should be banned. They can exercise people for 8 or 10 or 12 hours, which nobody can do when they maintain and come home. Who knows what damage they're doing to the rest of their body, but you can wear fat off that way. But for the average Joe, you really have to go through a huge amount of calories to get rid of 2/3 of a pound of fat. So it is not the answer as far as getting people there. And this good-looking guy is actually closely related to this good-looking woman here. This is her significant other. And Greg is the reason that we're both here. Now, he is an amazing man. He's a motivational speaker and has done a lot of interesting things in his life. But about 10 years ago, yes, he was overweight and not very happy with it. So he decided that he would try all the diets, and he did, and they didn't work very much. So then he got himself a personal trainer, and he ran his tail off day in, day out, and managed to lose, after a year, 1 whole pound. And it frustrated the heck out of him. He was ready to just say, screw it, I'm gonna be this way forever. And he ran into, a doc who had a different approach in there, and that's using the approach we're going to. So, when Greg started using meal replacements, which gave him portion-controlled amounts of food that he took on a regular basis. Our physiologies are like fires. If you want them to burn hot and fast, you have to feed them on a regular basis. They haven't really matured from when we were hunters and gatherers. There weren't carbohydrates hanging out all over the place when we were created. You had to fight the bear for the honey. You could maybe get to that little fruit before the squirrel got it, but basically there weren't a whole lot of carbohydrates. And our bodies were used to hunting and gathering as far as putting nourishment in it. So it's little bits on a regular basis is what makes it purr. So using meal replacements, which is what Greg did, he actually ended up, and still looks like that, after it's now close to 10 years, it'll be 10 years this summer. And it was just shifting the type of nutrition. Part of it was a different content, but most of it was that these were meal replacements that were providing the appropriate nourishment as far as protein. There was appropriate carbohydrate in there was appropriate fat. All of the food groups were present in it, plus some vitamins. And they were provided in a way that his body was kept burning as far as his metabolism. And it's enabled him and many, many people, now over 1 million that are using them in the program that I work with, to be able to both take off weight, but take it off in a safe fashion. They don't lose muscle while you're doing it. And it also provides nourishment in a way that folks don't get hungry. If you're not on a carbohydrate yo-yo where your blood sugar is spiking and then crashing, folks are able to go on and actually live through the type of day they would like, where they're not being governed by their stomach, they're not in a mental fog because their blood sugars are too low,